Welcome to the deep dive. We explore stories, often forgotten ones, pulling out the insights that matter, hopefully helping you feel up to speed fast. Today, we're stepping into a story, a narrative really, that feels incredibly alive, even though it's set over a century ago.
It really does. It has this immediacy.
So picture this. London, 1919, the Great War. Well, it's just ended. The city's scarred. People are trying to find their feet.
A really fragile time.
Exactly. And then one quiet May morning, boom, peace shattered. A bizarre accident. A plane falls, a parachute gets caught in a tree, over a roof. Glass everywhere.
And a death.
Yeah.
An unexpected death that just unravels into this whole web of secrets.
It's a scene that just grabs you, right? This sudden modern violence crashing into this quiet post-war setting.
Totally incongruous. And you realize straight away, this isn't just some random event. It's a flashpoint. It forces people to face things they thought were buried with the war.
And this incident, it's the heart of what Oliver Onions, our source for today, calls a case in camera. So our mission, our deep dive today, is to unpack the hidden truths behind this civilian flying accident.
Right. How did this one event in London become this pressure cooker? Testing loyalty, messing with public opinion, hinting at the future of aviation, even questioning justice itself.
We're going to peel back the layers, the shocking details, the cover-up, which is pretty intricate, and these bigger forces swirling around it that honestly connect right back to things we see today.
And what's so clever about Onion's narrative is how it uses this private tragedy like a mirror, reflecting the whole post-war mindset.
It's not just what happened, right?
No, it's how everyone reacted, from the family, the close friends, right up to, the newspapers jumping on it. It really shows you the fabric of society then.
It's like a shortcut, this story, to understanding how information gets managed, how people deal with trauma, with massive change like new technology. It still resonates.
Definitely. So yeah, let's dive in. Back to that May morning, 1919, Lenox Street.
Okay, so London, 1919. The war's over, but you feel its shadow everywhere. The source calls it the ghost of khaki. Men are coming home, changed. Society's trying to readjust.
There's this tension underneath the surface, relief, but also anxiety. What now?
And it's this quiet, normal-seeming May morning. At Philip Esdaile's house in Chelsea, there's a breakfast party going on. Very civilized.
Which makes the disruption even starker, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
They're trying for normal after years of chaos. But the war, it's changed everything, changed people. You feel it in the air.
Totally. So who's there? We've got our narrator. He's a journalist, a novelist, sharp observer. He's with Commander Hubbard, Royal Navy, Esdaile's old shipmate.
Right. Wartime connections already.
Then Philip Esdaile himself, the host. He's a painter. His wife, Molly, their companion, Joan Marrow, who they've sort of adopted, and another friend, Monty Rook.
Sounds very Chelsea.
Yeah.
Art, conversation, trying to recapture that pre-war ease.
Exactly, and they're sort of half watching a plane outside. Still a bit of a novelty, but becoming more common. It's making this soft organ-like note, just background noise.
Until it isn't.
Right. Suddenly the sound just cuts out, dead silence. Really unnerving. Everyone immediately looks towards the garden, then up.
There it is. The parachute, torn fabric, caught on the studio roof and tangled in this old mulberry tree. It's like something from another world has just crashed into their garden, violence invading the domestic space.
The description is amazing. Seeing the bodies, the tragic huddle through the stained glass window, violently crimson, morbidly blue. It's almost like a distorted painting of the horror.
Yeah, that detail is chilling. And you learn there were two men wrapped in the chute. One dead, Maxwell.
Yeah.
The other, Chummy Smith, badly hurt but likely to survive. The human cost is immediate.
And the neighbors. Windows packed with faces. Instantly public.
Yeah. A private horror becomes a public spectacle in seconds.
Okay, but here's the first big wait what moment. Amidst all this, the crash, the crowd, the shouting, the broken glass, Philip Esdaile, the host, he's missing.
Gone. Vanished.
He'd popped down to the cellar for a bottle of Dutch Curacao. Simple enough. But he's gone for ages. Close on half an hour while his roof is collapsing and there are bodies in his garden.
It's just bizarre. The timing, where was he, what took so long, it immediately feels wrong.
And his return. It's like something out of a play. He comes back up carrying the Curacao. Okay, but also a lit candle in a little tin holder in broad daylight.
A lit candle. In the morning sun, that image just screams that something is off. The flame, the smoke, it doesn't belong.
Totally out of place. And his smile, the source says it's stopped at his eyes. It's forced. His apology for being gone feels rehearsed, like he's putting on an act.
It's a mask. Definitely. Because he seems completely detached from the chaos, the crowd noise, the fact his house shook. It's like he didn't notice.
Right. His first instinct is to, tidy up, worry about dust on Monty's jacket, not the catastrophe on his roof. It's more than just shock. It feels deliberate, like he's actively not seeing it.
Exactly. And that's where the suspicion starts creeping in right away. Hubbard, the Navy guy, straightforward, he can't ignore it.
He calls him out on it. Do you mean to say you didn't feel the whole house shake?
And Philip's answer is so evasive, reluctant. Oh, he heard maybe a muffled noise from the cellar. It just doesn't ring true at all.
Not for a second.
Yeah.
And the narrator, being an observer of people, he senses it immediately. Something is deeply wrong with Philip's story, his whole manner.
So right from the get-go, you know this isn't just about an accident. Philip's behavior, this weird absence and detachment, it screams concealment. It raises that first big question. Why?
Why the act? Why the candle? Why pretend he didn't notice? It's the hook. This peculiar incident is way more complex than it looks.
Absolutely. The contrast is key. The huge external drama versus Philip's strangely internal, almost staged reaction. It tells you we're digging into secrets, hidden motives, right there in that respectable house.
Yeah, it's about how fast someone decides to hide something, even from friends, and what happens next.
Okay, so Philip's acting incredibly strangely, which definitely raises eyebrows. But the weirdness doesn't end there. As they start dealing with the immediate aftermath, more unsettling details emerge, and suddenly this private tragedy is attracting a lot of unwanted attention.
Yeah, the ripples start spreading out immediately. It pulls in more people, more problems. It stops being just about the people in that house.
So Monty Rook, their friend, he has the grim job of getting the men down from the roof. He comes back really shaken up, understandably.
An unpleasant task, as the narrator puts it mildly.
But while he's up there, he finds something. Quietly, a pistol. Near Chummy Smith, the injured pilot, but just out of his reach.
A pistol. That changes everything, doesn't it? Massively. And what does Monty do? He hides it, pockets it. He later says he thought it was a natural thing to have done, like an instinct.
Which tells you something about maybe wartime instincts carrying over. Loyalty first, rules second.
Could be. But Philip's reaction when Monty comes down is also revealing. He immediately, really insistently demands the cellar key back from Monty.
The cellar key. Why the urgency?
Exactly. And he gets weirdly annoyed, petulant, when Monty, who's obviously still agitated, suggests just taking the curacao back down later. This connects back to Philip's earlier obsession with tidying the studio, pulling down the blinds on the roof lights.
Controlling the scene, controlling access.
Right. The narrator watches this exchange and thinks, okay, something is between Philip and Monty. They share something. Maybe they're in on it together.
It's fascinating how quickly they both act to conceal evidence. Monty's natural instinct, Philip's obsessive control. It's not just panic. It feels calculated, even if decided in moments. Personal loyalty just steamrolls legal duty.
And knowing who the victims are just adds more layers. The dead man is Maxwell. The injured one, the survivor, is Charles Valentine Smith, known as Chummy.
And Philip and Hubbard are noticeably relieved Chummy's alive.
Yeah, they call him a dashed good youngster. And crucially, he was their shipmate during the war, along with Esdaile, so there's that bond.
The camaraderie factor, protecting one of their own.
But it's even more personal for the Esdailes. Remember Joan Marrow, their companion? Turns out there's a romance there. Philip had guessed C4C during a game earlier, hinting at Chummy. Joan and Chummy are deeply connected.
So Philip's fear is maybe Joan saw the crash too and might know it was Chummy involved.
Exactly. And Molly, Philip's wife, had apparently been trying to sort of engineer this relationship between Joan and Chummy, so the stakes are incredibly personal for the whole household now.
It really grounds the drama. Chummy isn't just some random pilot. He's family almost. And Maxwell, what about him?
Maxwell's described as a bit older than Chummy, a surveyor, unmarried, cool-headed, and significantly particularly attached to Chummy Smith. He was Chummy's spotter in Gallipoli.
Okay, so a very close wartime bond there too. Observer and pilot. Trust, maybe dependency. That relationship feels important.
Definitely. But while all this personal drama is unfolding, the outside world is starting to crowd in, and it's not sympathetic. Enter Mr. Harry Westbury.
Oh, Westbury. What a character.
Isn't he? Described as a vain and interfering busybody, an estate agent with hard and bullying eyes, Totally self-important, no sense of humor.
The kind of guy who thinks he knows everything.
Totally. And he immediately starts ranting against civilian flying this Tom, Dick, and Harry sort of flying. He's obsessed with property damage.
Right. He brings up the cost of wartime air raids. 3 million pounds in the city in one night. Not the human cost of this crash.
Exactly. He dismisses the pilots. Poor lads be blowed. They know the risks, don't they? They're paid for it, I suppose. It's incredibly callous.
He really captures that kind of resentful, fearful public reaction, doesn't he? Someone threatened by change, by risk takers, focusing on money and rules, not empathy, linking it back to the trauma of the Blitz.
He's channeling that anxiety. And he appoints himself a key witness, offers his testimony to Inspector Webster, insists he saw Monty Rook first on the roof.
Giving this very detailed account, but maybe slanted, he mentions the injured man's hand fluttering aimlessly. Seems trivial, but you sense it might matter later.
It does. It's like a tiny clue dropped early on. But Westbury isn't objective. He's got an agenda.
And his voice, amplified by his own self-importance, carries. Then the press gets hold of it.
Yep. The Roundabout newspaper publishes a sensational photo of Esdaile's house, crash site marked X, fuels all the local gossip.
And the narrator, being a journalist, knows exactly how this works. The press wants a story, a first-class murder case maybe, to distract people, like putting bathing girls in the paper during the darkest days of the war.
It's cynical, but probably true. Information manipulation 101.
So this whole thing just blows up. From a private tragedy involving close friends and wartime loyalties to this public spectacle. Conflicting interests, suspicion, the media frenzy starting.
Yeah, it becomes a battle over the narrative. What really happened, who's telling the truth, and loyalty is immediately put under immense pressure.
It really sets the stage for the cover-up, doesn't it? The pressure from outside forces them to dig in deeper.
Right, so the public's getting interested, Westbury's making noise, the press is sniffing around, and behind the scenes, the machinery of the cover-up starts grinding into gear. This is where we see how justice, or maybe the appearance of justice, can be manipulated.
Yeah, this part is fascinating. It moves into the legal system, but not in the way you'd expect. It's about controlling the outcome, not necessarily finding the truth. It's quite chilling, actually.
It really is. First, we meet Billy Mackwith. He's one of Philip Esdaile's friends, and he's a KC, a King's Counsel, so a very senior, influential lawyer.
Powerful connections.
Exactly. And he basically forces his way onto the coroner's jury for the inquest into Maxwell's death. And not just onto the jury, he gets himself made foreman.
Okay, alarm bells ringing already. That's not standard procedure.
Not at all. And his explicit goal, the source says, is to burke inquiry, to shut down any real investigation. He steers the jury to a quick verdict. Death by burning, and what wasn't that was general smash-up. Basically, tragic accident, case closed.
Wow, so just completely whitewashing any possibility of anything else. No mention of pistols or anything suspicious?
Nothing. But it wasn't entirely smooth sailing. There was one juror, a guy named Westmacott, who Mackwith considered an awful nuisance.
Ah, the dissenting voice.
Right. This guy actually insisted on viewing the body, which wasn't typical, and he clearly had suspicions. But Mackwith manages to sideline him, shut him down. It implies through sheer force of personality and influence, controlling the jury process. And crucially, Mackwith arranges for Maxwell's body to be buried incredibly quickly, making any later attempt to exhume it seem almost impossible, comparatively easy, only next to digging someone up at the North Pole, is the quote.
So burying the evidence, literally, that's ruthless. It really shows the lengths they go to. Power and influence just overriding the process.
Definitely. Now, what about the police? Inspector Webster. He's presented as shrewd, despite a kindly glint in his eye. He's not naive.
He suspects something's up.
He seems to. He knows about Mackwith's influence. He knows a cover-up is possible, maybe even likely. He drops these hints, talks about having a certain piece of information.
From Westbury, maybe? About the pistol?
Probably. Westbury was making a nuisance of himself, remember? Webster also mentions the inconvenience of a warrant for the search of these premises. It's not a direct accusation, but it's a clear signal. I know you might be hiding something.
So he's playing a careful game. He knows challenging Mackwith directly might be futile or politically unwise. So he applies subtle pressure instead.
Exactly. It's pragmatic. Maybe he suspects the truth, but recognizes the power dynamics. It's this quiet dance between the law and unofficial influence. Sometimes maintaining order, or the appearance of it, takes precedence.
Which leads us right back to Philip and Hubbard, their personal pact.
Yeah. They decide instantly, almost instinctively, to dig in, to protect Chummy Smith, at least until they private individuals, mark you, the narrator emphasizes knew more. It's loyalty above all else.
The narrator sees Philip almost visibly hardening his heart, making that choice.
And he reflects on it, doesn't he? Loyalty to friendship in the teeth of the law is not always the simple thing it sounds. It's easy to say in the abstract, harder when it might involve covering up, well, something serious.
He makes that crucial distinction. Killing in war, which they all knew, versus murdering another in peacetime. That's the moral tightrope they're on. Are they protecting a hero or covering up a crime? Or both?
It's the core ethical dilemma. And it's complicated by their wartime experiences, where those lines might have blurred.
Definitely. Now, how does Audrey Cunningham fit into this? Her story seems almost separate at first.
Right. Audrey is Monty Rook's fiancée. She has this difficult past. First husband was a drunkard. She's bringing a wardrobe over to store in Esdaile's cellar.
The cellar again.
Yeah.
Philip was reluctant to let her use it, wasn't he?
Very. And when Audrey goes down there, she has this intensely negative reaction, feels queer, like she's being watched. It really unnerves her, leads to a near breakdown.
A gut feeling. Something fundamentally wrong about that space.
Exactly. It's so strong, she breaks off her engagement to Monty, believes everything's been wrong ever since that accident. Her intuition is screaming at her.
Wow. That's a powerful reaction. And then there's the ring.
Yes. Later, her gold engagement ring is found, embedded in a small hole in the studio floor, directly above the part of the cellar she found so disturbing.
Okay, that can't be a coincidence.
The narrator is convinced she must have made some kind of discovery linked to that hole, maybe subconsciously, and perhaps shared it with Molly, Philip's wife. Her feminine intuition picked up on the dark secrets associated with that spot.
So her visceral reaction, her feeling, was actually tuned into the truth hidden there. Even if she couldn't articulate it, it's like the place itself held the trauma.
Precisely. And this sets the stage for the final, shocking revelation. The truth Philip has been hiding.
The case in camera itself.
Exactly. Molly eventually confronts Philip. She figures it out. He saw it, and he finally confesses, "It wasn't an accident," he says, "and there isn't anything I don't know."
So how? How did he know everything?
This is the genius, or the horror of it. The studio with its big glass roof acted like a giant primitive pinhole camera.
Wait, really? Projecting an image?
Yes, onto the cellar floor below. Where Philip was supposedly fetching Curacao, he literally watched the entire event, the crash, the figures on the roof, the shooting unfold as a silent, moving image projected onto the dark cellar floor.
My God.
Yeah.
That's incredible and horrifying. So he saw it all happen in real time.
From mild astonishment to interested realization, then the half-heard shock from upstairs and the tremor. He witnessed it all, inverted, silent on the floor.
Like watching a secret ghostly film of the event. No wonder he was gone so long. No wonder he came back with a candle, looking shell-shocked.
And what did he do immediately after seeing it? He started moving furniture around in the cellar. Why? To break up that beastly picture on the floor. He said it felt not quite decent somehow, all spread out dead flat like that.
A very human reaction trying to erase the image, make it unreal.
And finding the pistol and cartridge later, which he hid, just confirms he knew exactly what he'd seen and was immediately involved in the cover-up, protecting Chummy.
So, the shooting. What was the motive? Why did Chummy shoot Maxwell?
Monty eventually explains it. Apparently there was this unspoken pact common among pilots during the war. If one of them was fatally injured in a crash, beyond hope, the other would finish the job.
A mercy killing. To prevent suffering or capture.
That's the implication. Maxwell must have been terribly injured, dying, and Chummy ended his suffering. The narrator even calls it a potential semi-suicide. Maybe Maxwell even wanted it.
Okay, that completely reframes it. Not cold-blooded murder, but this. Grim wartime code spilling over into peacetime. Tragic.
Absolutely. So the accident is definitively a shooting, witnessed by Philip via the pinhole camera effect. The cover-up involves multiple people, driven by loyalty, protecting Chummy, with powerful figures like Mackwith manipulating the law. And Audrey's breakdown in the cellar makes perfect sense. She was physically reacting to the psychic residue of the event that happened right above her.
Wow. The truth is, darker, sadder, and far more complex than just an accident. It really explains everything. Philip's behavior, the secrecy, the lengths they went to.
So uncovering that truth, the shooting, the pinhole camera, it blows the case wide open, at least for us. But the story doesn't just stop there. It uses this incident to paint a much bigger picture, doesn't it? About aviation, about the shadow of the last war, and the fear of the next one.
Absolutely. This is where the personal drama connects directly to these huge, sweeping forces transforming society. The Lennox Street crash becomes this lens for understanding post-war Britain's anxieties and ambitions. It's not just about Chummy and Maxwell anymore.
Commander Hubbard has this really blunt, almost cynical take on civilian flying. He just lays it out there. Civil aviation's for war, of course, the next war.
Yeah, forget fancy ideas about airmail or business travel. For him, it's purely strategic.
He says it's about continuity of manufacture and the training of men, keeping the factories going, keeping pilots skilled. He even compares it to, what, Elizabethan sea power. Building ships not just for fishing, but to train sailors and keep Spain out.
It's incredibly insightful and probably quite controversial, and he's cutting through the hype around this new technology and seeing its core military potential. A warning, really, that war footing never truly ends, it just adapts. Aviation is the new battleship.
It challenges that whole optimistic view of technology bringing peace.
Totally. And Major Hay, another character they meet at a club, he doubles down on this. He predicts a new war, one that will be unutterably ghastly.
And how will it be fought?
With 1,000 bombing planes. That's the decisive weapon. His advice, start digging shelters, big ones, because the London Underground won't be much good the next time.
Chillingly accurate looking back. He foresaw the Blitz, essentially. The targeting of civilians, psychological warfare from the air, a complete shift from the trenches.
It's terrifyingly prescient. The romance of flying is already gone for these guys. They see the grim reality of air power and what it means for cities, for ordinary people. The next war comes home.
Even Chummy Smith, the pilot at the center of it all, he's not just a daredevil. Despite his slightly dodgy grammar,
Between you and I,
he's presented as a deep thinker, so single of purpose that it never occurred to him that he thought at all. He's obsessed with imperial defense.
right, thinking strategically about protecting the empire, India, Egypt, Africa, Australia using air power. He gets that Germany's future threat is airborne, not naval.
He's like this new breed of strategist, isn't he? Practical, visionary, shaped by the experience of flight itself. Like the narrator compares him to Columbus or Cabot, but for the air age.
He embodies that generation, doesn't he? Forged in the war, now looking ahead, understanding the new rules of global power, instinctively grasping the role aviation will play. It's a raw, unvarnished kind of strategic thinking.
And alongside these military and strategic concerns, you immediately see the economic side kicking in, the business interests.
Oh, yeah. The lawsuit. The company that owned the plane, Eglon, versus the insurance company, Scepter Assurance.
Scepter doesn't want to pay out. They're claiming negligence on the pilot's part, trying to avoid liability.
And the narrator calls this an inhuman collision of powerful business interests, which is spot on, because the rules for civil aviation are still being written. They're described as half-baked orders, totally experimental.
So there's no real legal framework.
Pretty much. The powers governing flight are unascertained. This crash, any crash, could set precedents, change the regulations, impact the entire fledgling industry. So the outcome of this lawsuit matters way beyond just this one claim.
It's that classic situation. Technology races ahead and the law struggles to catch up, leaving this vacuum where big money fights it out.
Exactly. And who steps into that vacuum to shape things? People with influence, like Lord Glenfield.
Ah, the press baron. Wingmaster and chief of the Daily Circus. Sounds like a character.
He represents the power of mass media, which was really taking off then. And he sees this whole case purely as a PR problem, not a legal one.
So what does he do?
He tells the narrator, who works for his paper basically, spin it, write articles that make Chummy Smith look good, the hero pilot, and make the other side, Sector Assurance, anyone questioning the official story, look bad.
How? What kind of angle?
Use the old tricks. Paint the opposition as cowardly shirkers who bolted underground while your friend went up and kept the Hun off London.
Yeah.
Pure emotional manipulation, tapping into wartime sentiment.
Wow, just manufacturing consent, basically. Build up the hero narrative, demonize the critics, divert attention from the awkward facts, like the shooting.
Precisely. Glenfield understands mass suggestion. The narrator sees it work on Westbury's audience, too. People easily swayed by rumor, especially vague rumor, because it lets them project their own feelings onto it. The press has the power to distract, to simplify, to create a murder case if it sells papers or serves an agenda.
It feels incredibly modern, that manipulation of public opinion.
Doesn't it? And finally, the story looks at the human cost, the psychological fallout of the war bleeding into this peacetime incident, like Westbury.
Yeah, his strain of resentment, his paranoia, believing there's a conspiracy against him, his obsession with the bullet. It's presented as a kind of war nerves, right? A curious byproduct of the whole thing.
He's a man adrift, clinging to his grievance, his sense of being wronged. It's pathetic, but also maybe symptomatic of a wider societal trauma. He can't cope with the ambiguity, needs a simple villain.
It contrasts so sharply with Chummy's quiet heroism and vision. Society seems torn between valuing sacrifice and indulging this kind of self-serving outrage. The narrator notes the tendency to serve God and mammon, to try and square law with force.
And the narrator himself gets sucked in. He feels the inhuman vitality of the case taking over his life, forcing him into unnatural attitudes, compromising his own journalistic principles to protect Chummy for the sake of British aviation's future. He becomes complicit.
So yeah, the bigger picture is stark. This one crash connects everything. Loyalty, justice, the future of flight, the inevitability of the next war, big business, media manipulation, and the psychological scars of the last conflict. It's all tangled together.
It really is. The personal story is just the tip of the iceberg, revealing these huge, often cynical forces shaping the post-war world. Truth becomes flexible, progress has hidden costs. It's a powerful snapshot of a world in transition.
Okay, so we've unraveled the core mystery, seen the cover-up, and explored the really big themes swirling around this crash. How does it all resolve? What are the consequences for the people involved, and what does it leave us thinking about?
Well, on the surface, there's an attempt at closure, a return to, well, something that looks like normalcy. But underneath, the scars remain, and the questions linger.
Right, it ends with a double wedding, doesn't it? Which feels very neat, almost too neat.
Exactly. Joan Marrow marries Chummy Smith, the man at the center of it all, the slayer, and Audrey Cunningham, after her breakdown and broken engagement, ends up marrying Monty Rook.
Monty, who hid the pistol. So the key players involved in the secret are now paired off. It provides this facade of stability, like life is moving on.
And Monty himself seems transformed. He was downcast after Audrey initially broke it off, but now he's cheerful again, entirely the old Monty, like he's made peace with his part in it, or at least accepted it.
Maybe compartmentalized it. Found a way to live with the secret now that he has personal happiness secured.
That feels right. It speaks to that human ability to adapt, maybe even deceive ourselves a little, to find comfort after disruption. His cheerfulness isn't innocence, it's adjustment.
But Audrey, she doesn't get off so lightly, does she? Her story is quite tragic.
It really is. Her difficult first marriage, her sex hostility, then that terrifying experience in the cellar leading to her breakdown. It all takes a toll. The ring found in the floor becomes this omen for her.
Reinforcing her feeling that men worry me. It's like the accident, the hidden violence of it, triggered all her past trauma and anxieties. The source mentions her war nerves again here.
Yeah, she's profoundly affected even without consciously knowing the full truth of what happened above that cellar. The suppressed truth radiates outwards, poisoning the atmosphere for sensitive people like her. Molly Esdaile shows her real kindness, though, tries to help her through it.
Molly seems like a quiet point of compassion in all the deceit.
She does. But then you have Joan, the other bride. She marries Chummy in complete ignorance.
Still thinks it was just a tumble, an accident.
Yes. Philip and Molly actively decide to keep the truth from her. They frame it as kindness, protecting her happiness, preserving her innocence.
Is it kindness, though? Or is it just easier for them? It's another moral gray area, protecting someone by lying to them.
Exactly. It raises questions about agency, about the right to know the truth, even if it's painful. Her happiness is built on a foundation of lies, orchestrated by those closest to her.
And what about Westbury, the man who was technically right about so much?
Poor Westbury. His rightness leads to his downfall, his obsessive crusade, his inability to let it go, coupled with his personality. It isolates him.
He ends up ranting on a soup box at Marble Arch about social inequality.
Yeah, a public agitator, ignored by everyone, dismissed by the authorities he tried to engage. His megalomania, his sense of persecution consumes him. He's downhill he's going.
It's a sad end. He suspected the truth, or part of it, but his character flaws meant no one listened. Being right wasn't enough.
It's a harsh lesson, isn't it? Truth without influence, without credibility, is often powerless against entrenched interests. He becomes a footnote, while the people who orchestrated the cover-up move on with their lives.
Which brings us back to the core question of justice. The narrator really wrestles with this, right? This clash between the law and loyalty.
He calls it the single question society rests on. Can you just ignore the rules to protect friends or what you see as a national asset? He sees a nefarious conspiracy against basic municipal virtues, a quiet chipping away at the foundations of society.
And Chummy Smith, the actual slayer. He gets away with it, lives courting, carefree, no consequences.
No burden to assume. His actions are excused by that airman's code, shielded by Mackworth. by Glenfield's press campaign. The murder essentially goes unpunished, legally speaking. It's impunity for the chosen few.
It's deeply uncomfortable. Selective justice based on perceived value or wartime heroism.
And the narrator knows he's part of it. He admits being constrained, pressured, into compromising his own integrity.
Sacrificing his journalism for what he thinks is the greater good, supporting this new and gigantic industry of aviation, which needs protecting in its early days.
His rationalization is revealing. He aligns his compromise with national interest, with the future defense needs Hubbard and Hay predicted. But it shows how easily principles can be bent for a cause, making you part of the system you might otherwise critique.
So looking ahead, the story ends with this sense of an uneasy future. Aviation is developing, yes, but always with the shadow of war hanging over it.
Right. The insurance lawsuit continues. There's talk in the papers. Flights like the failed Cairo to the Cape attempt show it's still early days for commercial flight. But everyone understands its military destiny now.
That grim prediction of future war swift attacks, targeting civilians, gas, box respirators, it hangs heavy. The beginning of the 1,000 years in which the devil is to be unchained.
It's incredibly bleak. They can sense the future, and it's terrifying, shape of the very technology they're involved with.
And the narrator's final thought about the impotence and vanity of trying to plan too far ahead. Just do the duty of our day.
It feels like a kind of resignation, maybe. A pragmatic acceptance of limited control in the face of these huge forces. The story closes with weddings and seeming order. But the real ending is ambiguous. Truth is buried, happiness is built on shaky ground, and the future looks ominous, intertwined with technology, war, and moral compromise.
It leaves you with a lot to think about. So this case in camera, this intricate story from 1919, what does it all mean for you listening now? In our world, where information is constantly filtered, curated, where complex stuff gets simplified all the time.
Yeah, how do we navigate that? How do you balance loyalty to people you care about with, maybe a wider sense of accountability or telling the truth, especially when the stakes feel really high?
And with technology moving so fast, AI, biotech, whatever's next, are we really thinking through the ethical side, the societal impact? Or are we a bit like the people in this story, caught between the familiar past and this future we can only sort of guess at, just trying to manage the day-to-day?
It really does feel relevant, doesn't it? That tension is still here.
Yeah.
This story, over a century old, it's a reminder maybe to always dig a little deeper.
To question what's presented, what might be hidden, what's left unsaid.
Yeah, always ask what might be happening in camera.